have been my wife serves also on a lot of different boards in the county and the city, and we've always been very involved in our community. And you know how everybody says, well, we got this problem, somebody needs to do something about it. Well, guess what? That somebody is us. I'm at a point in my life now where my three eldest sons are running the family business, which is a construction company, and they're 28, 30, and 32. And I have this wonderful opportunity to really be able to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
So this coming up election, by November, there's going to be 5 or 6 brand new commissioners, right? Maybe more, right?
Maybe more, maybe up to 8.
Right. This is for people that don't know, this is the first time in the history of Miami-Dade County that will ever happen, right?
Correct.
And my hat's off to all those people that have been serving, for a long time.
Absolutely.
In the beginning, I was sort of against the term limits, but you know what? 8 years is enough, right?
I think so. One of the reasons I'm glad I'm not a career politician. I've had my career, and now I'm at a point in my life where I can serve, and now I'm going to do this not as a career. My career is my business. I'm a builder. I built. That's been my career. Now I'm doing this. I'm doing this for the future of my children, of my 5 children, my 5 grandchildren. I want a better Miami, and I want a future for all of us in Miami-Dade County, every single one of us. This is our home, and we have to protect it. If we don't, the citizens, then who's going to do it?
When we look at people that we like, we say, can they convince their counterparts, because it has to be a majority of the people, to go along with whatever it happens to be. So it's not just if somebody's an excellent candidate and an excellent commissioner, it's can they get other people to buy into their vision?
Right.
So what is part of your vision for your district? And then the next picture for Dade County.
Okay. For my district, I want to improve transportation, housing, and also quality of life. I don't want developers coming into our residential areas. I think that is sacred. We must take care of our residential area. Most of my district is City of Miami, and City of Miami, to give you an idea, its current zoning has only been developed 10%. So why should we go out trying to rezone a 12-story building into a 60-story building when we've got plenty to build? So we've got to we've got to stand by our current code and go by it. And we've got to protect our single-family neighborhoods, the roads, Charandoa, Silver Bluff. These are places that there's no other. They're unique, and they're part of the history of our city. And so as in Miami Beach, residential neighborhoods we have.
It's certainly out of your area, but the people in Kendall and the people of South Dade got so stiffed by this county commission and transportation, right? I mean, it's terrible. And even when we look down south, who are the leaders? I even asked the people that I think are leaders.
Yeah.
They don't even identify themselves. The busway, which is now called something else, has been out there for 15 years, it is essentially useless. And if you want to cut off a neighborhood, cut off the roads, and as in wars, you cut off the bridges and the airports, and then you're stuck. So what they did is there's a south end, and then there's a north end, which starts sort of south, but the people down there got stiffed. People in Kendall got stiffed with all this traffic. The county spent over $1 billion of money that was supposed to go into roads that didn't. Now that's going to fall on you, how to fix this stuff, all right? So I wish you a lot of luck with that.
Well, one of the things we've got to look at is our city was designed in an era that does not fit the era that we're living now, and we've got to look forward and move towards the 21st century. Our city was designed in a way where industry was at one end of the city and housing was at the other end of the county, really. And that was fine back then. But now with the amount of traffic that we have, the trips that we have, it doesn't work anymore. So this was an industrial area. I think we need to move our city, our county, more toward a technological county, and let's integrate. We've got great sites, and this is one of my items on my platform. We've got two small airports, Tamiami Airport and Opaloca Airport, that will accept small jets for corporate headquarters. And my plans are to aggressively go after technological corporate headquarters that are looking to relocate. They come into our area and they will bring 40, 50, 30,000 jobs instantly. Now, one of the great problems they have is our traffic, our transportation. Well, what if we got together with our local developers and put together a plan where our developers, without it costing the taxpayer a penny, will develop around this new corporate headquarters, and the housing will be within 5 minutes. Now, we'll give our developers some incentives, maybe some zoning incentives, so that they will provide workforce housing at lower rates for these employees. Now, we have a corporate headquarters coming in with, let's say, 40,000 brand new jobs. We've got 40,000 houses built or apartments built that will create a great tax base. Now, instead of spending an hour and a half in the morning in traffic, all of a sudden you're able to walk to work. You have a brand new community. We created a great new tax base for our county. And the best thing about this, we just took 40,000 cars off the streets, alleviating our transportation situation. Those are the kind of visions that I see for our county moving forward in the future.
Victor Dover, who is a planner, has for at least the past 20 years talking about bigger sidewalks, live, work, play. He pointed out, and I follow him on Facebook, I'm one of his fans, that they're in Seattle and in Washington, they're closing streets and making them friendly walking.
Absolutely.
In Coral Gables, they actually did that years ago where they put down the gates. So
Yes.
I'm going, they did it without much to do. And so that street, for the most part, is cut off with traffic. There's, I want to talk about Biscayne Bay in a second, but there's some people in Palmetto Bay that were offended at the way a trapper was handling some ducks, right? So I said to them, you're upset at that? Where's your moral outrage about all the plastics that's in Biscayne Bay? You're worried about that? How about the last 3 months when you look at the ocean and it's so clean now, all right?
Yeah.
I don't know about the last
Amazing.
couple of weeks, all right? So Biscayne Bay is sort of in your area.
Absolutely.
How are we going to make that better? And Biscayne Bay just had its Biscayne Park, Biscayne Bay 40th anniversary, right? So how are you going to make that better?
Well, I think Miami Beach did something that I'm very much with, and that's the straws, getting rid of straws, and getting straws that are requiring straws to be biodegradable. I think that's a great first step for the entire county, and I would like to see that in our county, and it's a step in the right direction. It's moving towards the future. It's moving towards a better ecological mindset for our county. I mean, we're surrounded by the Everglades. We live off the Everglades. Without the Everglades, we would not exist. These are resources that we have to take care of. Our bay, we have to take care of. Look at the sargassum problems that we have in our beaches. I mean, right now, I was in Fisher Island on Saturday, and the beaches are full of sargassum because, again, we don't have a permit to pick up the sargassum. So how does this happen? How does this happen in a county where this has been going on for thousands of years? We know it's going to happen. Who's in charge of these permits? We wait until our beaches are full of sargassums and corroding and rotting and getting our sands full of bacteria because they start rotting and stinking. We live off of tourism. We're not taking care of one of our most precious resources, and that's our beaches. That's one thing I will make sure, that permit is always there and ready to go.
And speaking word of the Army Corps of Engineers says they have a $4 billion plan to save us from flooding. I think they said there could be this gigantic walls. How does that work, all right? I haven't really studied it, but it's going to be significantly different on how we perceive our relationship with nature.
No, I'll tell you about the flooding situation. It's a very serious problem and one we have to start acting immediately. And I'll tell you one thing about seawalls. Here we are spending hundreds of millions of dollars raising seawalls so the wave won't get over it. And we're building these seawalls now watertight. Water goes right through them. The ocean goes right through them. The first thing I'm going to do is halt every single project of seawall that we have in my district and make sure that these walls are watertight. We're not doing anything raising them if the water's still going right through them. We don't have to worry about the wave going over them. It's going right through. To me, this is ridiculous. The other thing, we can do something very simple to help our drainage systems that if we spend hundreds of millions of dollars with pumping systems. We have a problem here that is the coral rock. And coral rock, water comes in either through the sea, horizontally or vertically, it rises through this coral rock. Well, as a builder, we have different systems of foundations to build in buildings. You've got isolated individual footing pads that are basically concrete pads, or there's a system called a mat foundation, which basically reduces the size of these pads and you create an entire platform the size of the building. Okay, what if, it's not gonna cost the developers anything, and it's certainly not gonna cost the taxpayer anything, but what if we require all the developers from now on that build along our coast to put mat foundations in their buildings? All of a sudden, this porous coral rock that we have, we're gonna start sealing with all these mats of all these buildings. Okay, it's not the solution, but it is part. It can be a great part towards helping. If we do that, 10 years down the line, how many buildings are we going to have built with mat foundations sealing up a good percentage of that coral rock? And then we have seawalls that we seal so water doesn't come through it. That may be the edge to get our pumping system to actually work by reducing the amount of water. These are all things that I look at, and this is what I bring, thinking towards the future and not repeating the same mistake over and over and over again. We have to find solutions. Obviously, what we're doing doesn't work. Our streets keep on flooding. Every time we have a storm, Brickell is underwater. Miami Beach is underwater. If we don't start thinking of the future and start, another thing I will do is I will visit the countries that have these problems, the places that have these problems. New Orleans, we'll get experts from there. Let's address this. Let's look at how other countries and other people have resolved, and even in the United States, New Orleans, how they've resolved and conquered this situation, and let's learn from them. And I know we have a different situation with a coral rock, but right here is an idea that's very simple, and it will not cost us one single penny.
Let's talk about transportation. One of the a friend of ours is running for mayor. He, in one of the columns that I recently read, free transportation for everybody. It's $100 million, all right?
Yeah.
They were now getting paid. Now I understand, meaning the county, I understand that transportation is going to be a little bit different maybe for the next 6 months or a year.
Mm-hmm.
At some point it will return to, even if it's less, to the traffic jams that we created. I do want to thank all the politicians for taking care of our traffic jams, although they had nothing to do with it, right? It is a pleasure, unfortunately, to be driving around without much traffic. But public transportation here in Miami-Dade County it's difficult for a lot of people to take it for a variety of reasons. When I go on Metro Rail, when I go downtown, that's it, every couple months, maybe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that just will not get on buses, all right? And even when this stuff goes out to Kendall, not the people I know, or they're not getting on a public bus to go downtown, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to be in the cars that we love to have. So what do you think it's going to take to be able to improve public transportation enough so people say, I'll get on it?
Well, I think one of the things that I would do is we've had a lot of studies and we've spent a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars on studies for our transportation situation. First thing I will do is read through every single one of those studies and identify our situation, our problems. I also want to utilize our waterways, although our waterways towards Kendall and towards Homestead won't be as effective, but the density of our population is where we have our waterways in the Miami River and Biscayne, Miami Beach, the north part of our county toward North Biscayne. We can also reach Old Cutler. So if we provide, and I've already been approached by individuals that have a plan already in place to put a system of ferries. But I'm not talking about pontoons that we have now in the Miami River. That's embarrassing. I'm talking about a real ferry system like we have in Europe, where we have 120 passenger ferries. Now imagine 836. Okay, a lot of our congestion, and this trickles down to the entire county. If we are able to reduce the traffic situation in where we're the most dense, this will trickle down to the entire county. And the Miami River, imagine MIA, just how many passengers do we get for the cruise ship industry? Of course, not right now, but we're talking about 6 months from now, God willing, we get back to normal. If we're able to get all those passengers, take them off 836 and put them on a ferry, going to their cruise ships, right there we took thousands, tens of thousands of trips off 836. That will affect all of us. If we're able, if the mall gets built on the Melreese Golf Course, we've got a second mall being built along the river on 17th Avenue. Then we've got the courthouse. We've got downtown Miami, the medical center, Jackson, UM. Imagine a ferry that would run all the way down the river from MIA, where we have Tri-Rail, we have Metro Rail, and we have the passengers coming in, and all these tourists that come in and get on 836 to go to the beach, all of a sudden they'll be glad to get on a ferry. It's a beautiful trip down our river, down our bay, to cross over to Miami Beach. We can go all the way with this ferry to North Miami Beach. We could put a ferry to cross cars from downtown Miami. And then the most important part, key element of this system would be our trolleys in Miami Beach and the city of Miami. The trolleys are free in the city of Miami and Miami Beach. Well, I would propose to tie those trolleys to the ports where the ferry stops. So all of a sudden you've got someone in North Miami Beach wants to go over to one of the new malls or the medical state or the courthouse. Downtown Miami, they get on their trolley, they go over to the port, they get on the ferry, boom, they're right there. We bring in a company that builds it so it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. And we negotiate with them to make sure that our residents get a smaller fee and charge the tourists more, charge the cruise companies more for moving their passengers.
So there need to be some fresh looks, or look back again and say what's working. About 6 months ago, a year ago, the mayors of Homestead, Florida City, Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest, and one of the other Cutler Bay, their group that they had, a coalition to figure out the transportation. It broke. It didn't bend. They broke it, so they stopped talking to each other. Finally, the county stepped in and said, these are our roads. Yeah. We're going to decide. You can participate a little bit, right? But we're going to get it done, because politically it was not expedient for them to be able to do that, because everybody had to pass through each other's cities. In your district, there's a city, that's the city of Miami is there. And what are the, is there another city?
Miami Beach.
Miami Beach, right? So part of this whole process is, how do you get along with those city officials so that you can work with them and to develop some plan? So we hope that you're able to do that. I did want to talk before we leave on MDX. MDX was, you're familiar with MDX, I'm sure, right? So right now, they have no projects, and they're a maintenance organization. And what a struggle that was going on. We're intimately involved in covering that. And as long as it's not funded, nothing is there. Without regard to the name of it, where we find it offensive, and it's probably everywhere, that money was generated in Dade County, it was supposed to stay in Dade County so we could build more, whatever it was. So you have, it wasn't about the roads, it was about the money. Somebody else wanted the money, and they got it, right? The final thing was the West, Michael Rosenberg, I got it right, the West Kendall Parkway, all right, which was going out to the Everglades. It had passed the County Commission, and then everybody fought it. It looks like it's completely dead, right? That was the alternative. what are some real options that you think, besides what you brought up, in downtown and Miami Beach and that whole area, of having a viable alternative to the cars besides a couple things? Is there something you look at and say, I think this would work?
Well, we need to truly identify the masses we need to move, and then look at the alternatives that we have. Go out into the world. Technology is amazing. We live in an era of technology. We need to see Uber. We need to see different types of technologies available to the world, and then think in a mindset of the 21st century. We're always trying to catch up, and I think that's our great problem. We're always trying to catch up.
Yeah.
We need to start looking towards the future and plan towards the future and work towards the future. Hey, let's look at technology. Let's look at Uber. Let's look at across the world, everywhere. The major cities. How are they doing it? And we haven't done that. We're trying to, okay, let's build another road. Let's expand this road. Without going, the spaghetti effect. Let's throw spaghetti at the wall and let's see what sticks.
And let's look to the future. The governor just vetoed $1 billion out of everybody, including down here. I had some of that, so that's gone. It looks like it's going to be a tough year for next year for the county. So a lot of the things that we had been hoping for, all right, are gone, and maybe it's going to be a couple of years before it starts again.
But Michael, let me tell you something about that and how I plan to handle that. First of all, as a businessman, I know I have not received the income that I would have received in past years, but I also haven't had the expenses that I had before. My office has been closed for 3 months. I don't pay as much light. In essence, there are expenses that I don't have. Okay, I believe the same thing applies to the county as a whole. So the first thing I would do is look at our budget for last year, see where we're standing, what expenses we've had. I'm sure there's plenty of dollars that we can recover from last year's budget, because departments have been closed, everything has been closed because of COVID-19, and there are funds that have not been used and have not been, they're just sitting there. Now, I want to recover those funds and I want to transfer them to this year's budget. That in itself, I think, will bring a lot of dollars to help us towards this coming year.
Well, it's certainly going to be a challenge. We wish you a lot of luck with that again. Our guest today was Miguel Soliman, District 5 County Commission candidate. We wish you a lot of good luck with
Thank
that.
you very much.
And if there's some youngster out there, not this big, little boy, little girl, and who needs some words of encouragement, what are your words of encouragement to them? Look right over there and tell them.
Well, my words are, your education is everything in life. Your values are everything in life. Always, always remember your values, what your grandparents taught you, what your parents taught you, and never let go of that. Work hard, study hard, and you'll have a great future. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. Thank you, Michael.
My pleasure. Again, Miguel Soliman, District 5 candidate for County Commission. And again, I'm Michael Miller, and we want to thank Josh for producing the show. And we're going to look right to the camera right there, and we're going to say, have a good day.